For 12 years, she watched Barbra Streisand fire people for breathing wrong. The assistant stayed quiet until 2010 when Barbra turned 68. Then she broke her silence. She told reporters about canceled interviews over wrong lighting, million-dollar rewrites to keep filming within 45 minutes of Malibu, and the time Barbra made Jimmy Kimmel's entire crew redo his studio. But the real bombshell came when she showed contracts proving Barbra's demands cost production's $2 million extra per film. Hollywood executives begged her to stop talking. That's when she revealed why Barbra really controlled everything. Barbra Streisand's life didn't begin in comfort or applause. She was born in Brooklyn on March 16, 1942, and barely a year later, her world shattered. On August 15, 1943, her father, Emmanuel Streisand, died suddenly from a seizure. He was just 34. Barbra was only 15 months old. Doctors believed the seizure might have been tied to an old head injury, but whatever the cause, the outcome was brutal. His death wasn't just a tragedy, it was financial collapse. Emmanuel had been a high school teacher. His wife Diana worked as a school secretary. Without him, Diana became the sole provider, earning almost nothing. They lost their home and moved into Diana's parents' cramped one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. 5 people squeezed into that tiny space. Barbra, her brother, her mother, and both grandparents. There was no privacy, no silence, and no comfort. Just daily reminders of everything they'd lost. That apartment didn't just feel small. It felt like a trap Barbra needed to escape. But even escape didn't come with love. Diana was cold. She didn't hug Barbra, didn't say I love you, didn't praise her. When Barbra said she wanted to act, Diana told her she wasn't pretty enough. Barbra would later say her mother gave her food instead of affection. She didn't understand physical love. Hugs felt foreign. Her mother had dreams of being a singer, too, and that unfulfilled ambition twisted into jealousy. Even when others praised Barbra's voice, Diana nitpicked it. Put an egg in milk and whip it up, she said, implying her voice wasn't strong enough. It wasn't just silence that filled that apartment. It was rejection, subtle and sharp, from the one person she needed most, and yet something inside her still needed to be seen. Around age 5 or 6, she discovered the hallways of her apartment building had a special kind of echo. She began performing there. Her voice bounced off the walls, louder than it was in the crowded apartment. It made her feel big, important. She'd gather kids and sing, not for fun, but because she wanted someone to notice her, someone to say, "You matter." She found that in stairwells, not in her home. Music became her language, the only way she felt heard. At school, she felt like an outsider. Other kids had fathers who came home after work. Hers didn't, and nobody explained why. Her mother never talked about Emmanuel. When Barbra finally asked why, Diana replied, "I didn't want you to miss him," but she missed him anyway. She was the girl with the good voice and no dad. She wasn't just different. She felt different. And she carried that difference like a scar. That ache pushed her. It pushed her to stand out, to be great, to never be ignored again. By 17, she was done pretending to be normal. She enrolled in Brooklyn College to study psychology, but lasted only one semester. She dropped out knowing the classroom wasn't where she belonged. She had no vocal training, no industry contacts, and no backup plan. But she had that echo in her head from the hallway, and it told her to keep going. She started singing in little clubs in Greenwich Village, barely surviving on tips, coffee, and hot dogs. She slept on couches. Her mother was furious, but Barbra didn't care. She wasn't chasing comfort. She was chasing something bigger. In 1960, she entered an amateur contest at a small club called the Lion. She changed the spelling of her name from Barbra to Barbra just to stand out. She won. She sang Asleep and Be When the Sun Comes Out. She was 18, untrained but fearless. The $50 prize helped with bills, but more importantly, it proved she had something The club owner offered her a regular gig, paying $18 a week. That was survival money, but it was also momentum. She began performing at more clubs, including the Bone Sar, where talent scouts eventually discovered her. Then came her Broadway debut in 1962. The show was I Can Get It For You. Wholesale. Barbra played a frumpy secretary named Miss Marlstein. It was a small role, but Barbra stole the entire show. Audiences applauded when she walked on stage before she even said a word. Critics barely mentioned the leads. They talked about her. She was 19 and earned a Tony nomination for Best Featured Actress. People finally saw her the way she always wanted to be seen, not as the girl from the hallway or the outcast without a father, but as someone who could own the spotlight. That same year, she signed a deal with Columbia Records. Executives had doubts. She didn't look like other stars. But when her debut album dropped in 1963, all doubts vanished. The Barbra Streisand album hit number 8 on the Billboard 200 and stayed on the charts for over 2 years. It sold more than 1 million copies. At just 22, she won 2 Grammys, including Album of the Year. She beat legends like Frank Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald. She didn't do it with pop songs. She sang ballads, emotional and elegant. Songs like Cry Me a River and A Taste of Honey showed off a voice that could cut through pain and came from it. And somewhere between the stage lights and studio sessions, she fell in love. During auditions for her Broadway show, Elliot Gould was already cast as the lead. He saw Barbra, felt something, and memorized her phone number off the audition sheet. He called her that night. They talked for hours. He said it just clicked. They were opposites. He was middle class and trained. She was scrappy and raw. But it worked. They married in March 1963 in a small ceremony. But there was one problem. When Elliot Gould first met Barbra Streisand in 1961, he was the star. She was just 19. Nervous at her audition for I Can Get It For You. Wholesale, he landed the lead. She got a smaller part, but what followed flipped their lives upside down. Within a few years, Barbra wasn't just more famous. She was a phenomenon. And Elliot, once a respected actor in his own right, became known to the world as just Mr. Streisand. That